You're listening to the Jōrni Podcast. What happens when we stop eating for comfort and start eating for healing? Don't miss part 4 of the Ascend series. This episode contains adult subject matter, and some listeners may be triggered by this content. Listener discretion is advised. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Jōrni Podcast. Welcome to our special Ascend series, episode 4. In this fourth part of the Ascend series, we turn to how food and hydration shape the body's ability to heal. Eating to thrive means choosing fuel that truly supports health rather than feeding what drains it. Anaez, formerly Nate Zeleznick, is a globally recognized speaker, energy master, biometaphysics expert, and visionary healer. As the creator of the Integrated Ascension Method and co-founder of Ascended Living, Anaez bridges ancient Indonesian royal energy practices with modern neuroscience, biochemistry, and advanced frequency medicine, unlocking extraordinary levels of healing and human potential. Currently healing an inoperable brain tumor, which was reduced in size by 50% in just a few weeks, Anaez is using his own method, a fusion of breathwork, meditation, biohacking, supplementation, and the support of some of the world's most powerful biochemists and energy healers. Here is the fourth part of this extraordinary series, E for Eat to Thrive, with Anaez. Welcome back, everyone, to our next episode for the special series of Ascend. And I'm here today again with Anaez, formerly Nate Zeleznick, who will be taking us through the fourth part and the letter E that we've arrived at with Eat to Thrive. I am so excited that you're back with me here again, Anaez, and welcome back to the podcast for this special series.
Petra, thank you so much for having me back, and hello to everybody out there who's listening. This is going to be a pretty impactful episode, and I am so excited to dive in.
Absolutely. I feel that we all have to eat. So this is impactful for every single person on this planet. And of course, knowing more about this and how it affects our health is crucial if we want to have health and well-being going forward. So thank you for joining me today, and take it away and share with us your insights and your wisdom that you have come across for this letter E.
Beautiful. For the people that are just tuning in right now, to give you a little bit of background on who I am, my name is Anaez, also known as Nate Zeleznick, and for the past 26 years, I have been stewarding a very special form of it's actually an ancient royal system of breathwork, meditation, martial arts, energy healing, and superhuman training, literally Jedi training. And earlier this year, I had a health scare where, for anybody out there who's listening, if you've ever gone to the doctor and had them come back and be like, uh-oh, then you'll understand more of how this unfolded for me. I started losing sensation of my body everywhere in early February of 2025. I traveled to Mexico as a co-facilitator to facilitate breathwork and meditation and energy development for a very high-level group of practitioners in Playa del Carmen in Mexico, just south of Cancun. And I started getting very dizzy. I started losing sensation of my body to the point where I could not feel my skin anywhere. I even stuck a needle in my arm, and I just to see what's going on here, and it didn't hurt. So I knew that when I got home, I needed to get this checked out. And like a lot of people, The doctor's office is not my favorite place to visit. It's really not. But I knew I had to go. And so I went to the emergency room and they hooked me up to all these sensors to check my heart. Perfect. They took my blood work. It was okay. Chest x-ray, clear. But then they did an MRI. And in this MRI, they found a brain tumor, a white mass pressing on my brainstem in between the cerebellum and the brainstem where they couldn't even biopsy it. It's totally inoperable. And the doctor's response to that was, let's just wait for about 6 months and we'll do another MRI and we'll keep an eye on it. And I just went, no, we're going to do something about this now. So I know a lot of people out there listening, you're not the wait and seers, you're the action takers. And when it's your life on the line and you have to take your own life into your own hands, it changes everything. So I went through a very powerful ego shift where my illusions and all these things that I'd built up around being quote unquote me, even after 38,000 hours of professional meditation training, teaching people all over the world, martial arts experience, I thought I had it all mapped out. And then wham, that door flung wide open. And instead of some spiritual truth in there, what I found was me. I found the real me. And I found my resentments and I found my limitations. I found my lack of belief in myself in certain areas. I felt this hopelessness and helplessness. And I think that a lot of people who are facing a chronic condition do feel that, especially if the medical and scientific community is not able to help you. So what this did is it became a very powerful catalyst for me to, like I said, take my life into my own hands. And so I have gone very deeply into, more deeply than I already had, which I'd already done a lot of study, into things like biohacking, supplementation, nutrition, energy medicine, frequency healing, other types of breath work, so many things. And when I got connected with one of the most brilliant biochemists in the world, who has pioneered a certain type of stem cell treatment that he and only the doctors that he certifies are able to actually do. One of the things that he told me is he said, okay, first, most important thing is we need to get your diet correct. Have you ever tried the keto diet? Now, I had been already on a carnivore diet since the start of the year because I knew I was gaining weight. COVID put all of us in front of a desk a lot more than we used to be, especially me, who was working out and teaching classes every single day, 5 or 6 days a week. Now I was sitting on my behind and I was looking at the computer screen, having a lot of interaction with people on Zoom. But like the saying is very popular now, that sitting is the new smoking. It's very harmful on our body to not be active and to be sedentary. And by that time, I had gained quite a few kilos to the point where I was about, in kilos, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but 258 pounds. Now, I have a big frame. I'm a taller, larger person that carries a lot of muscle and it carries a lot of dense bone. Okay. But this was a lot more than bone structure. This was a lot of adipose tissue, also known as fat, that I knew was not healthy for me. So here I am at this weight. He said, you need to get on this keto diet. It's great that you've been doing carnivore. That means you're going to get to ketosis a lot easier. And I said, great, you're already in ketosis, but now we just need to tweak the diet. And so the thing is with cancer, I think a lot of us know that cancer is, first of all, anaerobic. It does not like high oxygen environments. So I really doubled down on my breath work because breath being our main source of fuel, that's got to be able to be a very big part of that. And that's my stock and trade. So I really made sure the breath work was on point every single day to keep my oxygen as high as possible to help starve the cancer. Then there's also sugar. And it's well known, there's no disputing this, that cancer absolutely loves sugar. It loves carbohydrates. So of the 3 different macros that we take in, fat, protein, and carbohydrates, carbs are the ones when it breaks down to glucose, that cancer just says, awesome, that's jet fuel, we can grow. I had already been on the carnivore diet, which was great. And with this very specific type of ketogenic diet, it really was absolutely crucial that I started there to make sure that with all the other things that I was doing, if you are putting water on a fire and also adding gasoline to it at the same time, it's still going to evaporate the water and your work is going to be undone. So for me, it was truly easy for me to switch to this type of eating because I made the choice. Do I want to taste good things or do I want to live? Do I want to satisfy my addiction to sugar or do I want to be alive on the planet for a longer period of time? So that was an easy choice for me. And for a lot of people, I think that it's common, Petra, that people don't really start putting out fires until the house is on fire. And Tony Robbins, for the people who are familiar with Anthony Robbins, he's got a very powerful saying that when is the best time to kill a monster? When it's a baby monster. If you wait until it's Godzilla, then you're going to have to fight an adversary that may just crush you. That's where I found myself. Now, I didn't have symptoms up until the numbness of my body, and thank goodness that I had those warning bells, but a lot of people don't. And so I would ask the question, is there a difference between dying from cancer, living with cancer, and thriving and healing through cancer? I decided that I was going to heal, I was going to thrive, and that I was going to create a modality, a method, a actual structure that people could follow because I knew very early on, I've got this. I'm going to heal from this completely. And how can I help the hundreds of millions of people that have other chronic conditions do the same? So here we are at E for Eat to Thrive. Now, whether or not you've been diagnosed with cancer or with Alzheimer's or with diabetes or coronary heart disease or lupus or Hashimoto's, there are so many tissue issues that we as humans having a meat suit and avatar can have impede our progress toward that pain-free, energized, happy, and healthy long life. Like Hippocrates, the philosopher, said, "Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food." He said that thousands of years ago. And in today's society, even if you live in the cleanest society and you eat all organic, you still have to breathe and there's toxins in the air. You still need to drink and there's all kinds of microplastics and different chemicals, whether it's fluoride or lead or mercury. There's all kinds of things in our water. And then there's our food. And the food is one of the easiest things that we can actually take control of to really regulate the internal environment of what's happening in the body. And the food industries, I'm not sure what it's like in Europe, but I can say in America, we have the sickest people in the world. We have the worst food with the most additives of any country on the planet, a lot of which they don't even need to tell us what is in there in order to put them in. There are no long-term studies. They have no idea if it's going to make us grow an extra arm out of our forehead. They just know that they get subsidized, they get money to put these things in there to make it more addictive for us. So with that in mind, we need to look at this from a holistic and a big perspective. If we have these things being put in our food and we're not being told what they are, wouldn't it make sense to really make sure that we're only putting into our body what we know is actually in these foods? Absolutely. In order to do that, reading labels is very important. Understanding what those things mean. Because it says natural spices, that can mean MSG. That can mean all kinds of things that we're not told what they are. Because originally they came from nature, but so did everything on this planet. Everything came from nature, right? Plastics come from nature. With that in mind, if we look at this thing and we say, okay, up until my diagnosis, I had been eating pretty healthy, wasn't exercising as much as I really should have for my own health. And I often looked at food almost like a friend. A lot of people eat emotionally, or we eat mindlessly, meaning we just put it into our face because it tastes good. The problem with that is that food is really our fuel. That's what it is. So if you have a car and you're putting sand, you're putting sugar, you're putting salt in the gas tank, doesn't matter if you have all this great fuel. And if it's a beautiful Bugatti, if you're not fueling it, you're not going to have an operational vehicle. It's going to start breaking internally. And that's what happened with me. And that's what happens with so many hundreds of millions, if not billions of people, is that we're not told what's in our fuel. It's very important right off the bat that we start to look at, what am I putting in? What's really in there? And it's very popular now that a lot of doctors put out this advice. If you can't pronounce what's on the label, don't put it in your body. If you can't say it, or if you don't know what it is, even if you can pronounce it and kind of sound it out, that doesn't mean you know what it is, or biochemically and energetically, what it's going to do internally. So eating whole foods, things like meat, things like a fish is obviously a type of meat, but it doesn't have hooves. It's not the same. Eating things that we can actually know what's in there, and we can say, oh, okay, this is MCT oil. Sure. Medium chain triglycerides. Okay, that's big words, but it comes from coconuts. And I know that this, after looking at the research, this is what it's going to do in my body when I take it in. By doing that, and we educate ourselves, what we do is we pull the wool off of our eyes so that we can actually start fueling this amazing machine, this Bugatti of biology, if you will, with the things that are going to help us run the most efficiently and the best. Also, food can also go in and be the mechanic that helps to repair the damage that's being done. When we look at our body as a vehicle of consciousness, and we start to look at all the different things that we can do and really need to do in order to live that long, happy, healthy life, it becomes quite fun, honestly, to start to play with the fuel source. What am I putting in there? How is it affecting me? And I can tell you this, with my real commitment to using the best fuels and the best supplements, I released 88 pounds of fat, or actually more than that, 88 pounds total over the course of 5.5 months. I put on 15 pounds of muscle. Of course, I do some weightlifting. I eliminated my hypertension. So instead of high blood pressure, I am now, it's 119/78. It is perfect. All of my blood markers are right in the middle of the bell curve for perfect health. And I have a smart scale. Petra and everybody out there listening, I don't know if you know what a smart scale is, but we have these awesome technologies that when you step on the scale, it has electromagnetic plates, or it has metal plates to send a current through your body. And it can tell you your body fat, your BMI, your water weight, bone mass, 45 different health markers, one of which is your metabolic and biological age. When I started this journey, Petra, back in February, I did this on my smart scale. It said that my metabolic age was 59 years old. Now, I just barely turned 50. So that's not good. I don't want to be 10 years older inside than I actually am. And I'm happy to report that now, as of last week, it says I'm 38. So reversing over 20 years on my age through eating to thrive and through these other supplementation, the other things in the Ascend protocol. Everybody out there, is there anybody out there that would like to reverse the clock on your aging by a couple decades? In just a couple months? Is there anybody out there who would not like to do that? I'm really living proof. There's nothing special or unique about me per se, other than I'm just disciplined enough because I don't want to lose my life to a brain tumor that puts me in this category of must do these things. And once it's a must do, it's easy. It's easy as pie, even though I don't eat pie because it's full of sugar. It is as easy as pie in order to do this once you actually get over this little hump of addiction that says, I want sugar, I want this right now. If you just say, okay, I'll have that later, but not right now. And I actually tell my hands, no, you don't get to pick that up. And if you just tell your hands no, you're not going to eat it because we're not going to go lick a plate, right? Or just tell your hands, no, we're not going to pick that up right now. And what that does is it puts you in a position of real responsibility and power, of sovereignty for your own health, that a lot of people, I feel, they feel powerless over that because what can I do? It's in our food anyway. Yes. So you need to make different choices in order to not to have those things in there. And I know that in Europe, you have much cleaner food than in America. There's a lot of things that are put in the American food supply that are illegal to be put in European and a lot of Asian countries' food at all. The same with Mexico and South America. Can't do it. But in America, for the Americans who are listening right now, there are ways. And I'm here to help and support you in being able to do this. And a lot of this has to do with knowing what, because that's where the confusion comes in, is the packaging looks great. It says it's all organic, but it's owned by a big mega corporation that even though it's organic, they still have microplastics in their food, or they have heavy metals like cadmium or lead or mercury in their food. How do you know what your body needs? And that's really what I'm here to do, is to help people find out what their body really needs for optimal health.
Yeah, that's a really good point, that I suppose depending on where we live, we have different challenges that come up around our food sources. And I know that some of us have a bit of, I want to say, benefit because we can go to the local farms. We can see how animals are raised. It's a very small, usually family-run place. You know what they're fed, where they're grazing, you know how the vegetables are grown. But that is, I almost want to say, a small percentage of people who really have that benefit of being really connected to their food sources. Or maybe if you're homesteading as well, you have advantages like that. But in general, if we're living in a city or we're living anywhere really in North America, Europe, we go to the supermarket and maybe, if you're lucky, to the farmer's market, if there is one. But other than that, we really have to be discerning about where the food comes from, what's in it, and as you said, what is good for our bodies. And do you have any insight on how we can actually determine what our body needs? I feel there is a lot of, you shouldn't eat red meat, then you shouldn't eat salt, definitely cut the sugar. Oh, eggs are really bad for you. There's so much information and very often contradicting information out there that everybody is listening to. And knowing what is good for your body becomes harder and harder in that sense. And supplementation is another piece where we're told, don't waste your money on multivitamins. You don't even know what your body needs. You must get a blood test for everything. And even then, we don't really know. So what's your insight? What have you learned in your journey on how people can actually make this effective for themselves?
That is such a great question. Now, there are a lot of things that play into this, and I'm by no means the expert on everything nutrition. However, what you had mentioned, like a blood test, like a hormone panel or an ALCAT test, there's microbiome testing where you send in a fecal sample. They tell you what your body is able to process, what you're getting too much of, need more of, et cetera. But the most effective thing that I've found for, first of all, ease, because you can do it at home. Second of all, it's the least expensive of all the different things, and highly accurate, is body code testing. Or yes, I know that you're a certified body code practitioner, as am I. And so when I work with people and I work with myself, I am able to muscle test on the universal consciousness. Does your body need this? Does it need this? And why I say that is because my blood type is O positive. Okay, so that one of the things is that I handle meat very well. Somebody who's like A negative or A positive, they may need more of a vegetarian diet or maybe a full vegan diet. So there's a lot of things that go into our function of our vehicle, because a Toyota and a Subaru and a Bugatti and a Porsche, okay, they're all vehicles, but they're different. Understanding what your body actually needs the most of, that's where a lot of people get confused, for sure. So to address that from a testing perspective, where muscle testing can tap into your subconscious, which knows everything about you, and ask, do you need more vitamin B6, more vitamin B12, or more vitamin B3? How about apricot seeds, which are B17? Will those help with parasites? And that's something that I really enjoy supporting people with, is getting to the very core of what their body needs in order to be completely healthy, or what their body is saying it needs. And that's a very important distinction. Now, if you go into a health food store, and let's say you're doing muscle testing for yourself and you're like, is this good for me? Is this good for me? Sure, everything in there is going to be good for you, but it's a different question to ask. Does my body need this? If it does, how much of this does it need? Which is the highest quality brand that is going to be the most effective for me? And a lot of people don't really know. They get overwhelmed. And that's what I really enjoy helping people with through the body code sessions, is finding out, okay, this is the best brand for you. Your body and your subconscious is telling me this is going to be the thing that is best for you. And this many drops, this many milliliters, this many capsules per day of this. And then with Amazon and with the internet, we can usually have these supplements to us in a day or two, which makes it really nice because we can actually start to make those changes right away. And so those are for supplements. When it comes to food, when you go to a farmer's market, just because it's a farmer's market doesn't mean that they grew things organically and they used, say, pig manure to fertilize instead of just nitrogen, potassium, those the chemicals. So to ask them, if you have the opportunity, ask them, what do you fertilize with? Do you add pesticides, herbicides, fungicides? Do you use glyphosate at all on your crops? Because they might be shiny, they might be beautiful, they may even taste good, but they may be poison. Doing that is just as simple as asking, what do you fertilize with? Is this 100% organic? And if the answer is yes, then you can also, if you're good at muscle testing yourself, you can actually muscle test, is this good for me? Are there any chemicals in here that are harmful for me? And maybe it's a completely organic thing, but maybe you're allergic to nightshade. So maybe don't eat tomatoes and red bell peppers. For me, I've had numerous blood workups done. ALCAT testing is one thing. Turns out my body is highly inflammatory to only one thing: sesame seeds. I love sesame seeds, so that was a bummer. But the thing is, if I eat sesame seeds and then my joints are hurting, or if I feel my hands are swelling, it's worth it not to eat that. But if you don't get the testing done, whether it's the DNAcompany.com or Viome or ALCAT or a hormone panel or body code work, you just may not even know. And then it's really a guessing game of eliminating things from your diet and seeing what you took out that now you're not having that response. But that takes a long time. So I'm all about efficiency and speed. So that's why I like the body code so much, is because we can do it in literally 30 minutes to an hour and have a really good snapshot of what your body is saying it really needs the most of or needs to eliminate. Maybe it's herbs, maybe it's chemical type of vitamins, maybe it's foods, maybe it's not having certain things that you're already putting in. But for people over in Europe, you may not get this. For people in America over the age of 35 will probably get this. There was a cartoon called G.I. Joe back in the day, back in the 70s and 80s. And one of his main quotes was, "Knowing is half the battle." Now, not saying that we're fighting against ourselves, but it is the part of the equation that matters the most. You have to know what's happening inside. And to that effect, we're going to cover that much more in the final class of this series, which is D for Decode Your Body. But for right now, very important is to find out whether your body functions best as a vegan, as a vegetarian, ovo-vegetarian, meaning you eat vegetables only, a plant-based diet with eggs, pescatarian, which is incorporation of fish, if it's ovo-lacto-vegetarian, so dairy products and like cheese, etc., with eggs and vegetables, or if keto. And if it's a relaxed keto, if it's a hardcore keto, if it's carnivore, or if it's lion diet. Lion is beef, salt, water, nothing else. That's it. Those three things are all you eat. And for people with autoimmune diseases, the lion diet and the carnivore has been shown to be extremely helpful and beneficial for the body when you have things that are like fibromyalgia or you have rheumatoid arthritis, different autoimmune things that are happening. Those tend to be very good. So it all comes down to knowing is half the battle. if that makes sense.
Yeah, I like that. Wow. And that's very insightful because we don't spend a lot of time, I think, even becoming aware of these things or what we might need. Because I feel there's a certain element of convenience involved very often when we eat, and especially when we're busy. There's a family to take care of, school, there's work, careers. We're trying to make a living, keep a roof over our heads, and manage everything. How much time do you then have to pick out the fruits and vegetables, test everybody, find out what they each should be eating, prepare that every day, 2-3 times a day? I feel there's an element of convenience, right? A lot of people go to the supermarket, they grab a few bags, it's all done, just add water, throw it in the microwave, dinner done, right? So a bit of a re-education as to what the long-term effects of that really are, of trading that convenience for, as you said, that fuel that's going into the body. And how have you found that changing from a regular diet? You said you went to the carnivore diet, then to a keto diet. How do you feel this is workable for people who are very busy, who have a lot of things going on in their lives? How can they make that move and maybe make that move a little bit less scary for them, especially if they have a lot of things on their plate and maybe children also to feed that need to be considered in this move? How can they move to a diet that's more friendly to them, cleaner for them? Maybe cut out carbs or come into one of the different diets that you mentioned. How does that process work in real life for people that have responsibilities and things to take care of?
I can tell you this about the way that I eat. It's very simple. I don't eat a lot of, obviously, I am not eating anything that I can't pronounce nowadays, and I understand with the convenience. So here's the interesting thing. My eating plan is about 1/5 the cost of what I was eating before. It's very simple, very practical, quick to make. The majority of my calories come through keto coffees. So MCT oil, butter, some cinnamon to regulate blood sugar, put it in the blender for 45 seconds. And I actually have a gift for everybody who's interested. I have the best keto coffee recipes on the planet. I say that with all humility and honesty, that Starbucks has got nothing on what I create. And it's super fast, it's super cheap. A lot of my calories do come from that because I'm on a ketogenic diet. So therefore, I'm burning fat for energy rather than glucose and sugar for energy. It takes a little while, maybe about a week to 2 weeks, to have your body transition. And what people always notice with the keto diet, unless they've got some other underlying issue, is that their energy levels go up and they're constant because you're using fat as your fuel source, which most of us have more than enough fuel on that front, right? And so you don't have the dips after you eat. You don't get tired. You don't get the carb crash. And your thinking becomes much clearer. And your brain power literally goes up because your brain is made of fat and cholesterol. That's what it's made of. And when we starve ourselves of cholesterol, the evidence is showing from what I've read that it impedes our ability for cognition and brain function. So when we're giving our brain and our body what it needs, you're going to have a lot of energy. So it makes it really easy to stick to the eating plan because you feel so freaking good that you're like, why would I go back to, that donut looks great, or that croissant, and I want to have that. And I know if I do, I'm going to feel terrible afterwards. So check in with my tongue. All right, how we doing? Is it worth that? Nope. Okay. And for me, obviously, I'm in a position where I'm like, I don't want to eat that because I want to be alive. But for everybody else out there, when you switch to say a keto or a carnivore, you can make it as absolutely extravagant that takes hours a day to cook all the meals as you want. For me, it usually takes me about 30 minutes total to prepare all of my meals for the day because I'm really addressing the food as fuel, not as fun. Now, does that mean once the tumor is taken care of that I won't have a little glasses of sake when I have my sushi? Absolutely, I will. Not at this point, but soon I will. And when we have it where it takes less time, it's less expensive, we feel better, it makes it a really easy thing to stick with, Petra, as long as we have the question in our mind when we're tempted. And that's normal to be tempted to have that Coca-Cola or a Mountain Dew, or even go to Starbucks and have the triple mocha latte that is just full of petrochemicals. To say, no, I like the way that I look, and I like the way that I feel, and the way that I eat. And everybody out there, you're welcome to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to share with you. And on my website at ascended.living, just ascended.living, I actually have a bunch of free resources that help you with what to eat, the keto, the best fudge you will ever have in your entire life, that takes 3 minutes to make a whole batch. It's pretty amazing. For me, it makes it quite easy. Now, some of the diets are a lot more difficult, like the lion diet, where it's just steak, salt, and water. That's all you eat every day, period. That is more difficult for me to stick to. That's actually not what I'm supposed to be doing right now for this tumor. But the carnivore diet itself is quite easy for me to stick to, and so is keto. But I've also been vegan. And that was the most difficult part for me, is just not having the protein that my body, as a type O positive blood having being, my body really does crave those different enzymes and amino acids and proteins that come from meat. And I process that very well. But we can always tweak things. We can always make it so that it feels best for you. But I know we're busy. I know that we have things that we have to do. And I would ask a very pertinent question. Is any of those things worth more than your life? Even your children. It's your life. You came here to have your experience. Of course, don't neglect your kids. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, isn't it important that you eat properly and do whatever it takes to do that, so that you're around for your children as long as possible for them? I think so. That's another thing with the body code that I help people determine, is what their body says. This is the best thing for me. All right. And then once you're actually in alignment with what your biology and your body and your mind say, this is what I need, this is the best for me, this is where I feel the best and I look the best, and I see pounds leaving my body on a daily basis, and I'm bringing that confidence back, it makes it a lot easier than if it's, do this because I said so. A lot of us resent being told what to do. But when it's our own body and we're having positive reinforcement, oh, it's glorious. And I'm now from 258 pounds, I'm now at 173 pounds. So that's a massive drop in things that were not serving me. And the detox is a little rough for the first month, for me anyway, getting these heavy metals and these toxins and parasites and things out of my body. But wow, once it got to the point where I was like, oh, the motor is running and it's humming right along, this is awesome, then it just, the better it gets, the better it gets.
Yeah. And I'm also thinking, the older we get, the more we want to still have our independence and our health. Nobody wants to live long to, I want to say, vegetate in a nursing home somewhere. That's not fun. And it's definitely, if you're caring for aging parents or chronically ill relatives, that is not somewhere that we want to be. So caring for our health now at this point, when we can have an impact, when we can make a difference to have a long and healthy life, I think that goes for our own independence and also for our children, right? We can spend more time with them. We can do activities with them. We can be there for all their big life milestones. And those are some of the things that, as I'm getting older, they roll around in my mind too, is what happens to me in 20 years, what happens to me in 30 years. So I feel what you're saying very much aligned with having to look after yourself as well, and then care for your family with the things and the changes that you're making. And I do feel that a lot of those dietary changes are aligned with family living as well. So it's okay for children to have some of those diets as well, and then be part of the meal making and the preparation, things like that, so that it becomes easier for you to have this in your life. And in addition to diet, I want to ask you about hydration, because I feel like water is one of those other things that can be very toxic depending on where you're living, if you're drinking tap water. And Also, water is one of those things that we all need. And I can't remember the statistics, but I think that a large percentage of people is chronically dehydrated just on a daily basis. How has hydration played into your journey with your tumor, with the things that you're changing in your diet? Where does that fit in?
That is one of the most integral parts of the entire puzzle, Petra. When we drink our water, not a lot of people drink water straight out of the tap because I think we all understand that if you're in a municipal supply, you have fluoride, but you also, if you drink water in Los Angeles, you're getting all kinds of birth control pill, drugs, and antipsychotics, things that are such small particulates that they're not able to actually filter them out. So what I do, and I am a water snob, I will admit it, I biohack my water more than anybody I've ever seen. So the first thing that I do is I got a 6-stage reverse osmosis filter. So it takes out all the fluoride, all the chlorine, all the lead, everything. It comes out as pure as you're going to find pretty much anywhere now. And then I take it and I put it into a decanter called a Mayu, M-A-Y-U swirl. And what that does is it creates a vortex and it sits there like a whirlpool and it helps to restructure the water. It has a structure, a crystalline structure. But when it sits stagnant in pipes, especially at right angles, and it starts going through these right angles, people who do water research and they take the water and they freeze it and they see what kind of crystals are in there. There's a huge body of work on this now. They found that the crystals are damaged by going through the pipes and sitting stagnant in them. I restructure it through a Mayu swirl. Then I pour it into it's called a vibe bottle. So it has all kinds of sacred geometry patterns on there. It has everything, words printed from enlightenment, love, gratitude, peace, because water is holographic. It will take on the structure of whatever it is seeing, whatever it is being exposed to. Researchers, if you take a glass of water and you say, I hate you, I'll kill you, you take a drop out and you freeze that, it totally obliterates the crystalline structure of the water. You take the same glass of water and say, I love you, I'm here for you, I cherish you, thank you. And then you freeze it, it comes out with these beautiful hexagonal crystals. And this is repeatable. People are doing all kinds of research on this. And I put my water over one of Nassim Haramein, for people who are familiar with Nassim and what he does, one of the most brilliant quantum physicists of all time. He has very special crystals that he actually has grown and made, and they're called the arc crystal. And it's been shown to restructure water. That if you even put an arc crystal in the ground and then you sprinkle grass seeds on it and you water it, it grows in concentric rings out from the crystal. It's awesome. And that helps to restructure the water for health even more. Then I put it onto a field generator. So you can get these for $20 on Amazon, where you can program any frequency you want in there and push play or start, and it will resonate from this plate at that frequency. So I put it onto the 528 hertz of love. So I sit there and, so first of all, reverse osmosis. Second of all, restructure it with Mayu swirl. Third, arc crystal for health. Fourth, I put it over the frequency of love. And then the fifth one, I put it onto a printed out Sri Yantra, which is it is the original frequency of the universe. And so I go and I have a 5-stage thing for all of my water. And this is why this is important, is because it's being shown that with bottled water, there are massive amounts of microplastics that then go into your testes, your ovaries, your organs, your brain, everywhere in your body. So bottled water is not necessarily better for you. Now, if it's glass, then it's much, much better for you, but who knows what was being done to it before it got into the glass, right? So water is so important. Our body is primarily water. And there are a lot of waters out there, Petra, that using body code testing, you ask people, are you drinking enough water? Yes. Are you drinking the right kind of water? No. How much of your water is being uptaked by your cells? Is it greater than 50%, greater than 60, whatever? And we go through, we find out that some people are only getting 10% into their cells of the water that they're drinking, even though it's Evian or whatever brand. I don't know about specifically that specific one because everybody's different. Some people are going to take it in better, other people not. So that's why the testing, the muscle testing on that of how much water do you need? That's really important for people. Do you need more ionic minerals in there? Will this particular technology help? Is Kangen water better for you? Your subconscious knows it all. It is omniscient. We just don't have the ability to access it with our small conscious mind. But through the body code testing, we definitely can ask those questions. So yes, hydration, absolutely critical. And there are things that you can do to make your water much better and healthier and more absorbable for your vehicle. That's a big part of what I do as well.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing your water process. I feel like that gives a whole new insight into all the things we can be doing with our water to prepare it for our body. And maybe there are some simple things for listeners to start with. They could even draw some symbols on if they have a glass bottle. For example, I use only glass bottles for my reverse osmosis water. So you could put sayings or drawings on there. And if they don't have a frequency generator, maybe they can listen to a music while they hold the water or something like that. I feel like there are frequencies available that people could listen to. So maybe some steps for them to take right away and try this out. And this is amazing. You've given us so much wisdom just in this short time that we've spoken today. So thank you so much for sharing all these insights that you have gathered. And of course, I want to give the mic back to you for a moment as well to share with us how people can interact with this Ascend series that we are talking about, how they can interact and connect with you, what you have available for them, because this is a very special series that's not just podcast episodes, but of course, a whole program and way of living. I just want to give that back to you and have you share that with listeners, what the Ascend actually means as far as, like I said, a lifestyle program, how they can work with you.
Yeah. Ascend is actually the acronym that I came up for the 6 steps and the 6 elements that I'm using in order to heal through this brain tumor and also to help many people around the world. So A is for awareness and mindset. Everything has to start with awareness. If somebody doesn't want to heal, they're not looking to get better, then none of the other parts matter because they're not going to take that initiative. That's also A for awareness is at the cornerstone of every other part of the acronym, because knowledge is power, right? And we want to make sure that we understand why we're doing these things, not just do them mindlessly. A is for awareness and mindset. S is for source through breath. Our breath is the most important and powerful and energetic engine in our entire life. We have it from day one to day last, and we can tap into it at any time to regulate our nervous system, regulate the chemicals in our body, build, manage, feel, flow, and project energy in and out of our body. We can also use it for manifestation. So S, source through breath. C is for center point reset. So everybody who listened to last episode with Jemiah, and she is the world's foremost authority on resetting the center point, which is really the electromagnetic poles of the body, which almost no adults have their center point in the right space. It's if you shifted the poles of the earth by 30 degrees, you'd have all kinds of massive upheaval, right? But what if you've been walking around in your own vehicle, your planet, and you've never had your center point in the right space? In a half an hour to an hour, Jemiah can reset that for people, even remotely. And for almost all people, it feels like they finally came home into their body. She's had multiple decades of addiction, people with addictions. One session goes away. Depression and anxiety going away. Body image improved. It's pretty amazing once you reset your entire electrical field. Then we have E for E to thrive. And how we hydrate, that's absolutely important because the fuel's got to be right for the engine. Next episode will be N for new frequency technologies. So everybody make sure that you tune into this one because I have been so blessed after this tumor diagnosis, and I reached out to the world on Facebook through my GoFundMe campaign and through other ways. But I have an amazing network of people in the frequency medicine and technology arena, one of which we're going to be focusing on, which is the PPT V-cell stem cell treatment that I've been blessed to have, where I was just 4 days ago, as of this recording, my color blindness reversed. Like I've been colorblind my whole life. And after this treatment, it took a half an hour. It was painless. I saw all the numbers on the dot test. I was like, holy mackerel. But I was actually there for the brain tumor treatment. And in a 5-week span from late June to July 31st, the tests were done, MRI and PET scan, and it showed over 50% reduction in the size of the tumor. And what we'll talk about in the next episode, the N for new frequency technologies, I attribute and credit that with why this tumor has gone down. And it's been miraculous for so many people, whether they have a brain injury, Alzheimer's, many types of cancer, if not all types of cancer, diabetes, type 1 and type 2, and pre-diabetes. And then Alzheimer's is considered type 3 diabetes in Europe. That's classified. And so many other chronic tissue issues and conditions. So I can't wait to explore that. And then finally will be D for decode your body. What tests can we do? And I've talked a lot about the body code, but I'll be also talking about the other ones as well that give you an inside window into what's happening inside your body. There are a lot of people that they go in for a routine checkup, or maybe they have a little bit of a cough. They do some blood tests and find out, oh, wow, you have stage 4 metastatic cancer. But your body didn't actually alert you to that. And so it's important to know what's happening under the hood of our vehicle in order to then take right actions and be our own mechanic. The best way for people to actually find out more about this is to go to, and Petra, I'll have you put the link in the show notes, but I just barely got a new URL today that'll totally work, and it's easy to remember. It's ascended.living. So Ascended Living program, the ascended.living. And that'll take you right to my page where you can find out about our different offers, individual lessons, our full Ascended Living protocol, which involves the new frequency technologies along with all this body code and center point reset work and mindset shifting and supplementation and the works, because we don't want to just put a Band-Aid over what's wrong. We want to find out the root cause and be able to put that into balance, because is it any good if you have, let's say, melanoma, you get rid of the melanoma and a year later it comes back because you still had some issues in your psychology or in your energy that was bringing that back? It doesn't make sense to not address the real issues, the real root. And so we do all of this in a program that is unique in the world, the Ascended Living program. Those are the easiest ways. And then you can get a center point reset. You can get a body code reset. That's in our offers page. Just go check it out. See if those resonate with you. And if you're feeling like you're really ready to take that next step into your health, and if let's say you have pain, how would it be to not have pain or have it reduced significantly without drugs and have it be a permanent shift? How would it be to have ample energy on demand, so that you're not at the affect of your body, but you get to effect it in a positive way? And how would it be to live a longer and more fulfilled life and a happier life? I think we all want that. And so that's really that's the crux of what we do at Ascended Living, is to help people in those 3 areas the most.
Yeah. And I'm nodding along. I feel those are things we can all use. More energy, better health, of course. I excitedly look forward to our next episode on the new frequency technologies. I feel this is something that maybe a lot of the listeners have not had any contact with yet before, or really explored before. So what a fascinating topic. And we will, of course, link to all of the offerings for Ascended Living in the show notes. Make sure we have the correct and new URL in there for you so that you know how to connect. And if you want to be part of the program or take any of the services to benefit, then we will link you to that. And with that, we will wrap up today's E for Eat to Thrive. And thank you, Anaez, for joining me again one more time. And I will see you in the next episode for the new frequency technologies. Take care, everyone. Be well. Thanks for being here today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Jōrni Podcast, please support us by subscribing, sharing on social media, and leaving us a review. We appreciate you. And you can find more of The Jōrni on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and our website, thejorni.com. Sending you love and courage, and see you next time.